welcome to Basic Science class. I am Ejiro Efere. Today we shall be looking at the topic resources from non-living things, from the theme learning about our environment. This is the first part of the lesson. By the end of today's class, you should be able to mention some examples of abiotic resources, identify some examples of non-renewable resources, and discuss the uses of these abiotic resources. In one of our previous lessons, we were introduced to resources. We said resources are items or materials that are used to provide benefits to man, or that can provide benefits to man. We also said they are items or materials that are used to meet the needs and wants of humans. We saw different kinds of resources in that lesson, and bulk of what we learned about in that lesson were biotic resources, which include plants, animals, and other living organisms. Plants, animals, and other living organisms are not the only resources that occur naturally in our environment. There are other kinds of natural resources as well. So we have other beneficial resources like water, land, minerals, soil, sunlight, and so on. These other beneficial items occur naturally in our environment and they provide benefits to mankind. These resources are used to meet the needs and the wants of humans, even though they do not have life in them. They do not have life, but they are also resources. This kind of resources are referred to as resources from non-living things. And those are what we shall be looking at in today's class. In that previous lesson, we said natural resources are those resources that occur naturally in our environment. They are used to satisfy human needs and wants. We saw various examples of these natural resources, and we say they are divided or broken down into two major groups, those from living things and those from non-living things. Today's class is centered on those resources that are derived from non-living things. The resources that are gotten from non-living things are called abiotic resources. Can you remember what we call those resources that are derived from living things? Biotic resources. So we are looking at the abiotic resources. Abiotic because they are not gotten or derived from life sources or from living things. These resources are derived from the non-living things that are present in our environment, that occur by nature in our environment. Some of these resources are also called non-renewable resources. Remember, in our previous class, we said biotic resources are called renewable resources because they can always be replaced when used up. In this case, we say some of these abiotic resources, those are resources that are gotten from non-living things, are called non-renewable. Why are they non-renewable? This is because these kind of resources are not easily replaced when used up. When we use some of these abiotic resources, it takes so long for them to be replaced, or in some cases, you can't even replace them. So they are called non-renewable. Although some of these resources can be gradually replaced by nature because they are provided by nature, that's why they are natural resources. Nature has a way of replacing them gradually over time. But the rate at which nature tries to replace some of these resources occurs more slowly than the rate at which we use them. So we use these resources faster than they are replaced, or faster than the rate at which they are replaced by nature. We are going to see some examples of these resources, and you understand why we said some of these resources are non-renewable. Some of these non-renewable abiotic resources include abiotic resources such as fossil fuels, coal, natural gas, minerals, soil, and so on. All of these abiotic resources cannot be replaced. Even if they can, it will take so long to replace them. Examples, or general examples of abiotic resources, these are the examples we shall be looking at in today's class, include land, soil, water, air, sunlight, and minerals. You agree with me that all of these resources are present in our environment. They occur naturally in our environment. We do not make them. They are not made by humans. And they also do not have life. So they are non-living resources. I'm going to look at the first example, which is land. Land as an abiotic resources. What is land? Land refers to the solid area on the surface of the earth that is not covered by water. Generally, the surface of the earth is covered by solid areas and wet areas. These wet areas are covered by water. The solid areas are occupied or are land. So those solid areas we can see on the surface of the earth, as you can see from this picture here, are referred to as land. Then we have the part that is covered by water, which include rivers, oceans, streams, lakes, and so on. So land is that solid area. Land is one of the most used abiotic resources. It is used by humans. It plays a key role in development of the society. So it is used by humans to develop the society. It is used for different purposes. We use land for building. We use land for building houses. We use land to build industries. We build institutions on land. We build roads on land. As you can see from all of these diagrams, these are structures that are all built on land. We use land to build parks. We use land to build schools and so on. Buildings are usually on land, or most buildings are usually made on land. So one of the basic use of land is for building. We also use land for farming purposes as well. Land carries the soil on which crops grow. So we use land for agricultural purposes, for farming, and so on. Land can also be reserved in form of forest. We say the forest is an area of land that is filled up with trees and all that, so we can reserve land in form of forest where trees grow, and when we need to use this land, we can go there, fell the trees, and use these reserved land. As an abiotic resources, we say it is one of the most used abiotic resource. Land can be easily damaged. It can easily be damaged by several human activities. It can also be damaged by climatic conditions, climatic occurrences, and so on. Some of the human activities, or some of the activities or occurrences that can damage land include erosion, whereby water washes off the surface of land and damages the land. Erosion can damage land. We can also damage land, or land can also be damaged by the excessive use of fertilizer on arable land. Arable land is the kind of land we use for the cultivation of crops. Excessive use of fertilizer on such lands could damage that land and deprive the land of its nutrients. In that case, crops may not be able to grow on such land. Chemicals can also damage land, where we have land pollution by chemical substances. This kind of chemicals would make such lands unable to grow crops or to carry any form of life, so such land may be damaged and we cannot use such lands to grow crops. Some other factors or some other conditions could also damage land and render some portions of that piece of land useless. So as one of the most important natural resources, it is important that we use our land, or we use land in a conservative way, use it in a careful way, use it in a way that it will not be damaged, so that we can continue, or land can continue to serve its purpose from generation to generation. So our children, when we give birth to them, can also meet some portions of land or some parcels of land to use for their own benefit. We want to always have land, so we should be careful how we use land. The other kind of abiotic resources we'll be looking at is soil. Soil is simply the upper layer on the surface of the earth where crops or plants grow. We said land is the solid area on the surface of the earth that is not covered by water. This solid area has an upper layer. This solid surface, rather, or solid area, has an upper layer. The upper layer is filled up with soil. So soil is that upper layer of the surface of the earth where plants grow. Soil is made up of different substances. It is composed of different substances. We have mineral substances, mineral matter, we have organic matter. It also contains water and air. Mineral matters or mineral materials include clay, silt, sand. Organic matters include humus and the other nutrients that are present in the soil. Then we have water and air as part of the soil. All of these different components of soil helps to aid the growth of crops. It helps to aid life or life forms that are present in the soil. Soil is used for various purposes by humans. It's used to meet human needs and wants. Let's see some of the uses of soil. Soil is used for agricultural purposes. It is used as a base where plants grow. Let me ask you, other than soil, have you seen plants that grow on any other surface? Yes, some plants grow on water, right? We have water aquatic plants. Those kind of plants grow on water. But majority of the plants we have around us grow on soil. We can't have crops or plants growing on cement or growing on our roof. If they grow on our roof, there must be a base to support their life. So bulk or majority of the plants we have around us all grow on the soil. So soil is like a base where plants grow. Why is soil a base? It contains a lot of nutrients, contains the necessary nutrients that are required for the growth of plants. Plants need nutrients to survive. That's why they have roots, and these roots are connected or planted in the soil, and they help to absorb nutrients from the soil. So the soil contains all the nutrients that are required for the growth of crops or growth of plants. This function of the soil, that's this function of the soil to support the growth of plants or to support plant life form, is very important to humans. It is of great benefit to humans. Why? Because humans and all animals depend on plants for food. We said plants are primary food producers because every other organisms get their food from plants. Plants produce food themselves. So humans and animals depend on these plants. So if there is no soil to support the growth of plants, there won't be plants for humans and other animals to consume. So it is important that we have soil so it to support the growth of crops. Some of the uses of soil include the following. One, we use soil to make bricks and blocks for building purposes. We use these blocks to build houses and other structures in the society. As you can see, those blocks are made from a mixture of soil, cement, and water. When these three items are mixed together, they can be used to mold blocks, and these blocks can be used to build houses. You can also use soil to make items such as glassware, sculptures, clay pots, and so on. Soil can also be used for mining and construction works for various purposes. For example, soil can be used for blasting purposes in mining and construction work, as we can see in this picture here, where someone is using soil from this device to blast this metal material. Another example, another kind of abiotic resources is water. Water is very important to humans and to other living organisms. Water is simply the clear liquid that forms under the ground, in the sea, in lakes, in rivers, oceans, and so on. It is also the liquid that forms during rainfall. When it rains, you have droplets of water all over the environment. Water is one of the most important abiotic resources for all living things. It is a basic fluid present in the bodies of all living organisms, whether animals, plants, microorganisms, and so on. They all contain or have water in their bodies. For example, we humans, we have blood flowing all over our bodies. This blood is made up of water and some blood cells and other substances. Blood is necessary for survival. It is necessary for living organisms to survive. As a resource, water is used for various purposes. I'm sure you can mention some uses of water. What do you use water for? As a human, what do you use water for? You use it to take your bath, you use it to cook, you drink water, to wash your clothes, and so on. Those are just some examples of ways we can use water. So water can be used in several ways. One of the ways is for domestic purposes. That is where we get water to drink. We used to cook. We used to wash clothes, wash other items in our houses. We also use water in our houses to take our bath. Those are all domestic uses of water. Another way to use water is for agricultural purposes, where we use water to feed our animals, we use water to irrigate plants, and so on. Those are all agricultural uses of water. We can also use water in industries for industrial purposes. Water is used in various industries to manufacture items. They are used to carry out several processes that lead to the production of various beneficial items. For example, we can use water to fabricate, use water to process various items. We use to wash in industries. They can use to dilute substances, to transport products, and so on. Examples of industries that use large amounts of water are industries such as the paper mill industry, where wood is used to manufacture paper. They use a lot of water. We also have different kinds of industries that use water in large quantity. Ink manufacturing industry, industries where paints and some other kind of liquid substances are made, use a lot of water for their processes. We can also use water for recreational purposes. Recreation are things that bring leisure to us, where we rest and get some form of leisure. We use water to make aquariums. Aquariums are for recreation and for decoration. We can also use water for swimming pools. Of course, all swimming pools contain water because it is in that water that you can swim. That's why it's called swimming pool. Water is used to make waterfalls because waterfalls contain water and they help to beautify our environment. Water can also be used to generate energy, electrical energy. So we use water to generate electricity. In that case, this kind of electricity is called hydroelectricity. Hydroelectricity is a kind of electricity that is generated from water source. A good example of a case where electricity is generated from water source is the dam. This is what a dam looks like. This is a dam. A common example of a dam in Nigeria is the Kainji Dam. Kainji Dam is a location or a system whereby water is used to generate electricity in some parts of Nigeria. The next type of abiotic resources we shall be looking at in today's class is air. Air is very essential. We find air all over our environment. Where you are seated right now, you have air surrounding you. It is because of air that you can breathe in and breathe out. In fact, when you breathe in air and you exhale another kind of air from your body. So what is air? Air is simply a mixture of gases that surrounds the earth in form of the atmosphere. So the earth is made up of an atmosphere. That atmosphere is simply a mixture of different kinds of gases. And in this mixture, we have air. Air contains different kinds of gases. That is why it is a mixture of gases. Some of the gases that are present in air include, I'm sure you know some of these gases already. So we have oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, argon, water vapor, and so on. All of these gases are present in air. Why is air of benefit to humans? Why is air important to humans? It is because air is the main natural resource that is needed by all living things to stay alive. Can you survive without air? Can you try to hold your nose? Do it this way for just some seconds. Do you think you can survive without air? No. You can't survive without breathing in air. So all living organisms, whether they are plants or animals, need air to survive. Air is used for various purposes by humans. The major and one of the most important use of air is for the purpose of respiration and for the purpose of photosynthesis. All living organisms carry out respiration. They respire. They take in air and they breathe out air. For example, humans, what form of air do we take, or what gas from air do we breathe in? Oxygen. So humans, we breathe in oxygen. Animals as well breathe in oxygen. And what do we breathe out? What do we exhale? We exhale carbon dioxide. All of these are different gases that are present in air. Plants, on the other hand, also carry out respiration. They take in oxygen for respiration, and at other times, that's during the day, they take in more of carbon dioxide. They take in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. I hope you can remember the process of photosynthesis. It's simply the process whereby plants make their food using carbon dioxide, energy from sunlight, and water. When they do this, they produce their food and they give off oxygen as a byproduct. So plants require more of carbon dioxide to carry out photosynthesis, and when they do this, they also release oxygen, which is important for animals and for humans. Oxygen is very important for animals and for humans. Another use of air is to generate energy, electrical energy, just like water. We can also use air to generate energy. They can use air to generate energy through wind turbines and windmill. This is what a wind turbine looks like. Energy from wind is converted into some form of kinetic energy, and it helps to generate electricity. So we can use the windmill to generate electricity from air. Air is also used in its compressed form to run machines for mining. We can use compressed air for other purposes. In industries, mining industry, compressed air is used for mining. Compressed air is simply a situation whereby some amount of air is collected and kept in a container or in a vessel. So we can gather some amount of air and compress it into a container or into a vessel. So this kind of air can be used for mining purposes. We can also use it to inflate tires. Using to inflate, remember when we try to inflate our tires when our tires are flat? We use this compressed air, which is what this young man is doing. He's trying to use compressed air from this device to inflate this tire. All he's just trying to do is to pump some amount of air into this tire to make the tire well inflated. We can also use compressed air to inflate balloons. When we blow some amount of air into balloons, they fill up the balloons and they make the balloons swollen. We use compressed air to also fill diving tanks for diving purposes. Those persons that are involved in scuba diving, they use these diving tanks to sustain their life. They connect it to their nose, so they will always have oxygen to keep breathing even though they are under water. Air can also be used for sailing purposes. Sailing, whereby some vessels are used to travel across the sea. Even on the atmosphere, air can also be used for travel purposes. Moving air is known as wind. Wind has a great force. It has the ability to generate great force. Remember when the wind is blowing around us, how it carries our clothes from the clothesline, how it carries items that are of lightweight from our environment. It has a force that comes with it. So this force from moving air, from wind, enables sailboats, ships, some kind of ships that do not use engines, gliders, and some other kind of sailing items to move from place to place on water or to move from place to place in the atmosphere. You can see examples of gliders. These vehicles do not use engines or machines. They move from place to place through the force generated by wind. Other uses of air include the following. It aids combustion. Air aids combustion. Combustion is simply burning, so it aids burning processes. Without oxygen, combustible items cannot burn. Items that have the ability to burn will not burn. There won't be fire because burning, or the process of burning, requires oxygen. Oxygen helps all burning processes. It aids the burning of cooking fuel. It aids the burning of fuel we use to run our vehicles. It aids the burning of fuel that are used to generate energy, heat, electricity, and so on. Without oxygen, which is part of the gases in air, these burning processes will not take place. So with the aid or with the use of air, we can burn fuel to generate energy in our vehicles, to move our vehicles, to cook food, and so on. To power machines as well, we need to burn fuel, and oxygen is required to burn all of these fuel. Oxygen from air is also required to burn candles, lighting items. It is also required to burn firewood and any other kind of combustible material. We use oxygen for these purposes. Air also serves as a medium for sound transmission. When we make a sound, it travels through air and it gets to our ears. So air helps sound to be transmitted to a point where we can hear it. It's transmitted to our ears and we can hear them. Sound wave travels through air. Air also helps for seed disperser. You remember some of the trees or some of the fruits or plants that are present in the forest, you find out that they keep reproducing themselves, even though we can't see the farmers that keep replanting them. These plants keep reproducing, even though we can't see the farmers that replant them, or we can't see how their seeds spread from one place to another. This is because wind, as moving air, plays a role in dispersing the seed. It helps to spread the seeds across the area of land. It spreads the seed from one place to another, and when these seeds drop to the soil, they germinate and begin to grow as new plants. So wind helps to disperse seed. In summary, we started by saying abiotic resources are derived from non-living things that occur naturally in the environment. These are resources that do not have life in them, yet they were not created by man. They occur by nature in our environment. Some examples of these abiotic resources include land, soil, water, air, sunlight, and minerals. In today's class, we only looked at land, soil, water, and air. In our next class, when we return, we shall be looking at or learning about sunlight and minerals as examples or types of abiotic resources. Land and soil are used for agricultural purposes and for building purposes, amongst other things. Water is used for domestic purposes. We use water in our houses for drinking, washing, taking a bath, and so on. Water can also be used to carry out certain processes in industries, and we can also use water to generate electricity. Air is used for various purposes. It is very important for all living organisms. It is used for respiration, to carry out photosynthesis in plants, and to generate energy, amongst other uses. To find out how well you've learned from today's class, I would like you to take these questions. The first one says, soil is used for the following except dash. A, for making bricks. B, for making glass bottles. And C, for making aluminium pots. The correct answer is option C. Soil can be used to make glasswares like glass bottles. We can also use soil to make bricks and blocks that are used for building purposes, but we can't use soil to make aluminium pots. Aluminium pots are made from aluminium. The second question, which of these resources provide a base for the growth of plants? A, land, B, air, and C, soil. The correct answer here is option C. We said soil is the base on which plants grow because they provide the necessary nutrients required for the growth of plants. We have come to the end of today's class on resources from non-living things. Part 1. I hope you understood all we learned in today's class, and I hope you can discuss all of these points and explain their uses. Till we meet in our next class. Bye!
If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to our channel. You can also turn on notifications to stay updated on new videos on this channel. This Brain Friend video was brought to you by Sinforest. For more of these amazing e-learning videos, get your copy of Brain Friend With more than 1,000 e-learning videos, over 74,000 test items in more than 40 subjects, a career counseling guide, and many other amazing features, BrainFriend remains your foremost e-learning and exam preparatory software. BrainFriend. Learn better, make excellent grades.